Going on talk shows and doing interviews are a part of a celebrity's job, whether they are TV actors, movie stars, musicians, or someone else in the entertainment industry. If they're promoting a new project, chances are they'll be asked to appear on late-night talk shows, sit in on radio chats, or speak to newspapers to get the word out. Now, these can be excellent opportunities to get people interested in whatever they're working on, or just give fans an update on their life. But sometimes stars are taken aback by awkward questions, and then suddenly the interview becomes chaotic. So let's take a look at the top 10 funniest celebrity talk show fails that were permanently banned. Number 10, Justin Bieber. In 2013, the singer went on Zach Galifianakis' hilarious show Between Two Ferns. Like other celebrity interviews in the Funny or Die series, this one features vaguely offensive questions, awkward pauses, and snide remarks. Zach starts off by saying, "It's really exciting talking to you, especially in the middle of your public meltdown." He refers to Bieber as a 7-year-old and asks, "In the recording studio, do you ever think, what if I don't make something crappy? And you've had 3 hairstyles. What's next for your career?" Despite the absurd questions, both of them hardly crack so much as a smile, and you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. But the sit-down also turns violent when Zach gets so fed up with Bieber's antics that he takes off his belt to spank him 3 times, insisting that he had it with their punk attitude. He then apologizes and says, "I don't really think spanking is a good thing, but you're not a that's the point. You're not a so I can hit a grown man with a belt." Overall, this was one of the best episodes of Between Two Ferns. The show has given us some of the funniest and most cringeworthy moments that exist on the internet. There's just something about the low production value and the increasingly personal and offensive questions that get thrown at celebrities. The best part is that everyone's in on it, but you would never be able to tell. Number 9, Jim Carrey. The 2017 New York Fashion Week Harper's Bazaar Icons Party was an event that plenty of famous faces attended, and Jim Carrey wound up popping in and making an appearance during the event. Eventually, he was interviewed, and what followed was something so hilarious yet uncomfortable that you just have to watch it for yourself. The interview seemed like it was getting off to a good start, but it didn't take long for Carrey to give a response that no one saw coming. When he was asked about why he came, he said, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am. You've got to admit it's pretty meaningless." He then started walking in circles around the presenter, who was clearly in shock and maybe even having an existential crisis. She then asked Carrey if he was an icon, and he said, "Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibly that we can come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air." The reporter looked at him like he was crazy, but viewers ended up praising the actor for his response, given that he turned what could have been a regular self-promotional interview into a chance to give his perspective on the absurdity of our existence. In many ways, it wasn't just funny, it was actually refreshing. Number 8, David Letterman. Madonna stopped by The Late Show with David Letterman on March the 31st in 1994 for what would become a headline-making interview. Her contempt for him was apparent from the moment that she sat down, as she wasn't entertaining any of his sexual innuendos and suggestive comments. The drama that followed eventually made it the most censored episode in American TV network talk show history. The pop star came out ready to shock the world, cigar in hand and filter completely gone. Letterman isn't easily phased, but in 1994, Madonna managed to make him just the slightest bit uncomfortable. A minute into her appearance, and he began teasing her about her sex life and asking her to kiss men in the audience, and she responded by calling him sick and launched into a 20-minute long rant that was hardly PG. In fact, she said the F word a total of 14 times. Not only that, but the singer refused to get up from her seat once the interview was over and forced him to continue speaking to her in subsequent segments. But between the two of them, it's hard to say who was more out of line. It wasn't until 1996 that she revealed why the episode was so messy. She said, "The way he introduced me was derogatory, so my whole thing was, okay, if that's how you want to play it, you cannot beat me at this game." Well, it's safe to say that she certainly did. Number 7, Kourtney Kardashian. For the Keeping Up with the Kardashian star, one of the biggest live TV fails came with her interview in 2016, just weeks after Kim Kardashian's horrific Paris robbery. In case you need a reminder, Kim was held hostage while her apartment was ransacked of $10 million worth of jewelry. Shortly afterwards, Kourtney appeared on an Australian program called The Today Show to talk about her latest project, before the hosts attempted to turn the conversation towards Kim. They said, "We're very sympathetic and horrified, so we were wondering, how is everyone going? How is Kim doing?" But right away, they realized that that was the wrong thing to say. Kourtney's face went blank and she was clearly frustrated. She said, before looking at someone else in the room, most likely her publicist. An awkward silence ensued and she looked beyond the camera, muttering muttering something under her breath about having someone come in. The presenters were confused at first before they realized what was going on. David Campbell asked, "Hello Kourtney, have we lost you?" before the silence became unbearable and her face disappeared off screen. He was obviously less than impressed by the loss of communication and said, "I think she's totally blanking me on that question. She could just say her sister is fine." As for Kourtney, she blamed the whole thing on a bad connection, but fans thought it was a hilarious way to avoid answering the question. Number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. When music legend Celine Dion went on The Ellen Show in 2007, she probably didn't expect to have an extremely uncomfortable interview. The songstress was not in the least bit amused when she got criticized for the fact that her son had long hair. Ellen was trying to be funny when she brought up a photo of Renee Charles, who was 6 years old at the time. The picture showed a photo of a cute little boy with shoulder-length hair. Ellen obviously thought that that was great material for a joke, so she asked Celine if she was forgetting to cut her son's hair, but she did not expect her to take the question to heart the way she did, and suddenly the tension in the room was so thick. Celine clearly felt attacked, and she asked Ellen if she had a problem with it. At this point, you could tell that she'd probably gotten that same line of questioning from countless other people who made it their business to inquire about her son's appearance. She said, "Some people shave the head of their children, and people say, 'Oh, isn't that terrible?' Well, I don't even cut my son's hair, and they say, 'Oh my god, when is she going to cut her son's hair, you know? Whatever I will do, I won't please everyone." She explained that it was he who made his own decision to keep his hair long, but Ellen had already sensed that she'd made a mistake and swiftly changed the topic to Celine's music after the uncomfortable moment. Number 5, Cara Delevingne. In the middle of a promotional tour for her film Paper Towns, the model appeared on Good Day Sacramento and went on to have one of the most awkward interviews ever. First off, the anchors called her Carla instead of Cara. Then they proceeded to ask her whether or not she had read the John Green book on which the movie is based, and why she didn't seem more excited to be on the show despite making millions of dollars from the movie. But Cara was clearly not having it and pretty much refused to respond to their questions. Instead, she took a bit more of a sarcastic approach, but the anchors pushed right back and almost seemed to be mocking her the whole time. They said, "You do seem a bit irritated, maybe it's just us." But when Cara agreed, the host said, "We'll let you take a little nap and maybe get a Red Bull," essentially kicking her off the show. Despite being tired after the final premiere for her film the night before, Cara soldiered on at first, but the show was clearly trying to embarrass her because she wasn't going to play ball with the patronizing questions. When the interview first came out, there was a bit of a debate over who started the awkwardness, as some people felt that Cara was acting entitled by refusing to answer those questions in an agreeable manner, but most would agree that she was simply having an off day and must have been exhausted from all the traveling and promotional interviews. Number 4, Quentin Tarantino. During a press conference for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a female journalist asked the legendary director something that seemed to set him off. She brought up Margot Robbie's character Sharon Tate and inquired about her lack of lines in the film. She said, "Quentin, you've put Margot Robbie, a very talented actress, in your films. She was with Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. She was in I, Tonya, and yet you haven't really given her many lines in this movie. I'm guessing that was a very deliberate choice on your part, and I was just wondering, why was that? Why don't we hear her speaking very much?" The question would have been an easy one to answer, as there were so many characters in the film, and naturally not all of them could get the same amount of screen time. But Quentin snapped back and refused to answer. He said, "Well, I just reject your hypothesis." Then Margot jumped in and seemed to save the moment. She said, "I think the moments that I got on screen gave an opportunity to honor Sharon and the likeness. I don't think it was intended to delve deeper. I think the tragedy ultimately was a loss of innocence, and to really show those sides of her, I think could be adequately done without speaking. I did feel like I got a lot of time to explore the character, even without dialogue specifically." When you watch the clip for yourself, there's no doubt that Margot definitely made the whole thing less awkward. Number 3, Jimmy Kimmel. Fans love to look back at a viral video from 2015 when Nicole Kidman was a guest on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The host starts off by saying, "I don't know if you remember this, but we've met before." In response, Nicole says, "Oh, I remember." But this is where the story gets interesting. Jimmy recalled walking around New York City when a friend called him up to tell him that Nicole was with him and was hoping to meet up. As he continues to ramble on, she stops him in his tracks and confesses that she used to like him. Jimmy becomes visibly shocked and flustered while saying, "Wait, what? What are you talking about? Did I date Nicole Kidman? Did we go on a date?" The shock and embarrassment did not stop coming, because then Nicole recalled the time that they met and said that he barely paid attention to her when she finally came over. Thanks to TikTok, the video recently gained traction, and it never fails to make people laugh and think, what if? Because it sounds like these two could have almost dated if Jimmy had only known that Nicole was interested in him. To be fair though, he did seem pretty shocked when he heard the story from her perspective, so it's likely he had no idea how she felt at the time. Years later, fans still rave about this hilarious story and say that it's it's a perfect example of a missed opportunity. Well, I guess we'll never know if they would have ended up together. Number 2, Julia Fox. Yes, a large part of Julia Fox's fame came from dating Kanye, but it was a viral clip of her saying the words "uncut gems" that launched her into meme status and made her the icon she is today. It all started when she went on the Call Her Daddy podcast and discussed her relationship with Kanye and her movie role. She said, "I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems." She wasn't saying anything out of the ordinary, but she went viral because of the way she said the film's title as Uncut Gems. And then suddenly it seemed like everyone hopped on that audio and wanted to make their own videos mocking her accent. Cara Delevingne, Shay Michelle, Miranda Sings even hopped on the trend. Julia eventually acknowledged the online jokes and posted a comment saying, "OMG, I was stoned, leave me alone." The actress gave the world yet another hilarious soundbite thanks to an interview that she gave at the 2022 Oscars, where she was asked almost condescendingly about who did her strong eye makeup that she was wearing to the event. In response, Julia says, "I actually did it myself, yeah," and then her voice trails off into nothing. And of course, it wasn't long before TikTok got a hold of that audio and made it go viral. So far, over 130,000 people have used it. Many of them have recreated the iconic interview moment or used it as a way to joke about mistakes that they've made before. And coming in at number 1, Tom Cruise. The couch jump on the Oprah Winfrey Show in May of 2005 is one of the most memorable moments in talk show history. The actor was talking to Oprah about his new relationship with Katie Holmes, with whom he eventually married a year later. As soon as he came on the show, there was a loud cheer and applause from the audience, particularly women screaming their lungs out. The actor was left blushing, and soon, rather than sitting on the sofa, he sat down on the floor, pulled victory laps, and later at one point even jumped on the sofa. Tom couldn't hold back his happiness as he jumped on the couch, punched the floor, and paced around before confessing the reason for his uncontrollable happiness. Oprah was supposed to interview him for his then upcoming film War of the Worlds, but she was left stunned. At one point she said, "What happened to you?" To which Tom said, "I'm in love." It was during this couch jumping interview that he made his relationship with Katie Holmes official after months and months of speculation. The actor confessed his love for her, but he went overboard with his excitement, pulling off some crazy antics during the interview. His behavior was not only over the top, but some felt it was actually extremely unprofessional, and viewers immediately started sympathizing with Oprah because despite being a talented host with years of TV experience, the situation was clearly out of her depth. Had the interview been released today, Tom would have been launched into meme status. So what was the craziest talk show moment? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.